So Channel 5, clever old them, have got a big documentary coming out, and the star of the documentary is Thomas Markle. Now, of course, there's been this very dramatic fallout between Meghan Markle and her father. Indeed, at the wedding, the only member of her family that was there was her mother. But some of the things that Thomas Markle is saying are, I think, all right, it's his side of the story, but they're pretty damning.
Are you serious?
The documentary is going to be aired fairly soon, but we have got some clips of it already. Let's have a listen to Thomas Markle.
This is like one of the greatest long-living institutions ever.
Okay.
They're destroying it. They're cheapening it. They're making it shabby. They're turning it into a Walmart with a crown on it now. It's not. It's something that's ridiculous. They shouldn't be doing this.
Pretty damning comments. Well, to assess to what extent they are behaving in a shabby way and damaging the institution, and in particular, to carry on with that theme, and it's interesting, wasn't it? Caller after caller before the break saying they were worried for Harry and what he would do giving up all these associations of a life that he knows here. Well, I've got a proper Harry expert with me.
That doesn't make sense.
This morning, because I've got Angela Levin, royal commentator, biographer and author of Harry, Conversations with the Prince. Angela, welcome to LBC, and thank you very much indeed for joining us. Last week I had some people on saying, you know, they can't have their cake and eat it, they can't privatise the monarchy, and I think public opinion was pretty much there, and the Queen, it appears, has acted decisively. But does, you know, if they're going to go off, live on Vancouver Island, make their money in Los Angeles, is there a danger that they are cheapening the monarchy?
Good question.
Well, I think the very reason why the Queen has given them a sort of farewell, sugary coated farewell note, is because she feared that, and she wants to make sure that they are no longer representing the royal family.
Really, nigga?
They're not going to do any engagements on her behalf. The things that Harry's like most, which is the military, is no longer going to be allowed to have any association with that officially. They've got to pay back the £2.4 million that they've spent on renovations of Frogmore Cottage in Windsor.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And they're not going to be funded by the public anymore. So that is an answer to the question of, is she worried? Most certainly. I mean, they wanted to come out with something called progressive royalty.
Okay.
And,
yes, I couldn't work that out at all.
We don't know what that is, but she wasn't going to give it a chance. And again, you know, what your listeners have said, you can't be half in and half out. You can't cherry pick. You can't have your cake and eat it. There's lots of ways of explaining it, but you're either in or out.
Fact.
Yeah, it's the firm, isn't it?
It's the firm,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, you know Harry pretty well. Just explain the extent to which you know him and you've followed him to LBC's listeners.
Yes.
Let me put it in a language you can understand.
I wanted to write about Harry because I thought that he'd look more mature. He was cooperating with the royal family. It was 2017, and so I was allowed to follow him on engagements for about 15 months.
How? How did they think that was okay to even put it in the game?
Throughout all that time... Wow. And if you like watching people like I do, you learn quite a bit about them during that time. Throughout that time, I kept asking at regular interviews and ever so politely if I could get to interview him at Kensington Palace.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
And I said, no, he never does interviews. And then suddenly I got a phone call saying, are you free tomorrow afternoon? You can have 20 minutes with the Prince.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Well, as you know, 20 minutes is nothing, really. You don't get anywhere. But I thought, well, the way I'm going to get round this is to ask him a question that is so important that he will let me stay longer. So I thought about it carefully, went to the palace, hello, how are you? He always welcomes you with a joke, well, he used to anyway, and sat down and he said, OK, I think you've got a lot of questions. And I said, yes, well, my first question, Your Royal Highness, is that I've seen you talk to children who come from very damaged homes.
Okay.
I've seen you talk to ex-servicemen and women who've been psychologically as well as physically damaged. You've made the most incredible impact on them. But I'm wondering whether you use these opportunities to also look after your own mental health.
Wow. That was some question.
So there was absolute silence, and I thought, I'm either going to get thrown out or it'll work.
Well, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Long pause, and he said, that's a very big question.
Good job.
Another long pause, and then he said to me, you're right, of course. And the tone of the conversation was very, very different after that. It was risky, but it was worth
very
it.
interesting.
Are you serious?
And you made a comment there that I thought was really interesting at the start when you said that he'd welcome you, or he'd welcome people with a joke.
Yes.
And then you said, at least he used to.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
Because
Yes.
I don't know, but it seems to me that over the course of the last 6 months or more, he looks miserable, he looks haunted, we've seen some tears in public. I mean, marriage isn't making him happy, or have I got that wrong?
I don't like where this is going.
Well, I don't know about the marriage not making him happy, but I don't think he feels he's making Meghan happy enough. And I think that's weighed on his mind a lot.
Women.
And of course, we discovered today that, in fact, the Queen has known quite a long time about their unhappiness of being part of the royal family. And I suspect that, you know, they've been talking about this and she's got more and more unhappy, which we heard about in South Africa when she said she felt she was existing and not living.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if that wouldn't make a new husband of under 2 years very unhappy, I don't know what would.
No, okay, no, I get that point. But part of it is because of it, and indeed the Queen herself, said as a result of intense media scrutiny over the last 2 years, although, of course, all the royals get intense media scrutiny. But very interesting, isn't it?
Why? Why?
Because if they're going to get away from media scrutiny, but to make money, they're going to be, in the Los Angeles West Coast life. I mean, surely they've got this wrong, isn't the media scrutiny going to get even worse?
Well, that's my view, actually. At least they're going to swap it. They're going to swap it from being in the royal spotlight to being in the celebrity spotlight.
Yeah.
I don't think Meghan's really understood the difference between the two. Harry explained it to me in one of our conversations.
Wow.
And he said that if you're royal, you have to be there 24/7, and you have this sense of duty that keeps you there and drives you. If you're a celebrity, you pick and choose who's going to do your PR, which papers you're going to talk to, and when you're going to talk to them.
Fact.
Harry will always be famous. In our eyes worldwide, he's hugely loved. He's second most popular royal to the Queen, and he will still be a prince in everybody's eyes.
Are you sure about that?
And they will with a different kind of publicity.
But Angela, what will he do?
Well, that's also very
And she
true.
can go back to, they've got Disney voiceovers they've been pitching for. She might do some acting again.
Gay!
She might go on the Oprah Winfrey show. I mean, you can see that she can have a completely full life out there. What does he do?
Well, she's also got loads of friends and good connections, which Harry won't have that either. Or his family. I think that's a really big problem. He's never worked in the way that you or I might think of work, and he's had lists of what he's going to do written out for him, planned months and months and months ahead.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
He won't work in an office. He told me he can't bear sitting in an office looking at a computer. He gets very agitated by it. It's very, very difficult. I hope he will keep up the Invictus Games charity, which he's involved in, and also Centabile, which is this charity in Africa, which is for young kids who are whose parents have died of AIDS. or they are suffering from HIV. But that's not enough to keep a man in his mid-30s busy.
This week, I had a Twitter debate, just like I have a Twitter debate every week. This time, it was with an individual by the name of Serena Daniari. After we exchanged a few tweets, I invited Serena to the show for an open dialogue. And I was absolutely thrilled that, unlike most people on the left who won't talk to me face-to-face, Serena agreed to join me in person. Unfortunately, after my producers booked Serena's flight and hotel, Serena backed out. So instead of having that conversation,
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
we're instead going to have this segment of Counterpoints. So this is where the entire debate began. It was actually about vaccines. And Serena came across my rhetoric, which she deems to be anti-vax. Because I have been very open with the fact that I am not comfortable with the rush nature of the COVID-19 vaccines or the pressures around getting the vaccines. And so I've made a personal decision not to get the vaccine. And this deeply upset Serena. Serena tweeted to me, "You are the one who is deranged and urging your millions of followers that the only true means of preventing a deadly virus that has taken hundreds of thousands of lives is not effective. Live without fear by all means.
What?
But to spread delusional lies is morally repugnant." And this amazed me. It amazed me that Serena called me delusional because, in case you did not know, Serena is trans. So I had stumbled across the internet as somebody who is a trans woman who is accusing me of being delusional because I am making a personal decision regarding my own health. And it actually gets even more bizarre. Fact. Serena went on in this Twitter exchange, and of course I answered back, and I said, "I just want to make sure that you're a trans woman telling me that I am a delusional person because I choose not to get a vaccine. You believe that between you and I am living in a delusion. Is that correct?" To which Serena answered,
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
"Yes, Queen. I believe you are delusional. While my decision as a trans woman to get breast implants and turn my penis into a vagina impacts literally no one but me, your choice to deny science and spread anti-vax misinformation that spread delusion impacts many." Denying science. A trans woman is accusing me of denying science. Is biology not science? Is anatomy not science? Are none of these things physiology? Is that not science? So this is where we are in 2021, where we are now being preached to about the reality of science by people that have made decisions to transform their bodies and believe fully that they can actually pick their genders.
Are you serious?
This spat went on, it went back and forth, and Serena then said, "I say this to you with an open heart. There is no singular experience of womanhood. Reducing women to anatomy and reproductive abilities is an insult to so many women, trans and cis. What about the women who have fertility issues? Are they less of a woman? Those with hysterectomies, period." Okay, I want to respond to this because it's important. I have been a very loud voice against the transgendered movement, and I feel that I am one of the few voices that is standing up for women. I want to continue to do that right now on Counterpoint. So, counterpoint number one is that this culture of the media and the academia and people pretending that
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
being a woman means to simply walk in and pay for a cosmetic procedure is deeply misogynistic. My second counterpoint to you, Serena, is that a cosmetic procedure,
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
that going in and getting breast implants makes you a woman is an insult. I'll tell you why. Because what this trans movement represents is a caricature of what it means to be a woman. Fact. Being a woman isn't just having a procedure and getting your breasts.
Well, good evening from London. Welcome to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Harry and Meghan's claims about supposed racists in the royal family have left a predictable and poisonous legacy for the last few years. We live in an age where grievances are given the benefit of of a doubt, where the establishment is toxic by default, where my truth apparently means more than the truth. They knew the power their words would hold, and many people across the world took their words at face value.
Are you serious?
Now, almost 3 years on, Britain is still dealing with the fallout from this.
And also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
Okay. What? About how dark your baby is going to be?
Potentially, and what that would mean or look like.
Hold up.
There's
Stop
several
right now.
There's several conversations.
There's a
about
conversation with you?
With Harry.
So that was a f***ing lie.
About how dark your baby is going to be?
Potentially, and what that would mean or look like.
Ooh. And you're not going to tell me who had the conversation?
Very good question.
I think that would be very damaging to them.
Okay.
Compartmentalized
They were
conversations.
concerned that if he were too brown, that would be a problem. Are you saying that?
You better answer the fucking question.
I wasn't able to follow up with why, but that if that's the assumption you're making, I think that feels like a pretty safe one.
You may recall that I lost my previous job for responding to these claims by saying I didn't believe a word of it. Well, Harry and Meghan have never provided any evidence for that highly incendiary claim. It's not like they haven't had the chance to. After all, they pumped out 6 hours of self-indulgent bilge on Netflix, trashing Britain and the press for its racism. But didn't mention what they said on Oprah. Harry read 150,000 words of family-bashing poison in his memoir Spare and toured the TV studios to promote it, but didn't mention what they'd said to Oprah Winfrey. Fact. Meghan had a 12-part podcast on Spotify. Didn't mention it either. It was like it never happened, like it disappeared. Clearly, neither of them gave a damn about royal protocol or family privacy. In fact, they built a whole industry around violating their own privacy and that of their relatives. Instead of backing up those claims about racism on their relentless publicity tour, Harry did a sort of strange U-turn, didn't he, a few months ago? Tried to pretend they'd never said them.
Are you serious?
It was us. It was the media.
In the Oprah interview, you accuse members of your family of racism. You don't even...
Well, the British press said that.
Right.
Stop it. Did Meghan ever mention that they were racist?
She said there were troubling comments about
there was concern about his skin colour.
Right. Wouldn't you describe that as essentially racist?
I wouldn't, not having lived within that family.
Took him 2 years to do that U-turn. 2 years of the royal family are a bunch of racists flying around the world. I was in America through a lot of that period, and they all believed it because it had appeared on Oprah. Then he says, I never meant to say anything about racism. What are you all talking about? It's the beastly media. Well, now Harry and Meghan's lick-spittle client journalist Omid Scobie, the man who lied about his age, said he was 33 when in fact he was 38. A bit older now. Said he never used private jets and then got reminded of an Instagram picture of him the week before he denied that this week, showing him on a private jet. The man who said that I have regular phone calls with Queen Camilla.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Regular phone calls. Never had one phone call with Queen Camilla in my entire life. I'd like to, but she doesn't call. Well, Scobie is back with a spiteful, lie-filled new book. Fact. That's poured fuel on the flames. He says that Meghan wrote private letters to King Charles, naming 2 royals who she accuses of taking part in those supposedly troubling conversations about Archie's skin colour.
Stop it.
Scobie initially said he knew the names but couldn't legally report them. But of course, he could have done outside of the UK. He could have done it in America if he wanted to, where the book is published. He could have done it anywhere. But he said he never names names.
That doesn't make sense.
Which is another of his lies. And yet overnight they were sensationally revealed, suddenly, out of nowhere, in the Dutch version of Scobie's book. Journalists had been sent copies and the book was briefly on sale in bookstores. What? Before being suddenly withdrawn in a dash by the publishers. Scobie initially said it was a translation error, which didn't really make any sense, because how do you mistranslate names? They're either there or they're not. The publisher now says it wasn't translation, it was simply an error. But how did that error happen?
Very good question.
How is there an entire different version appearing in a Dutch edition of this book? The consequence of that error is that millions of people online around the world now know the royals are again being implicated in what I think is a completely baseless claim of inferred racism. There is, again, massive speculation about who the people are who were supposedly making comments about Archie's skin colour, which is incredibly unfair to all the royal family. They've all been tarred with this brush now for years. Well, I'm going to end all this nonsense because, frankly, if a